Hey guys, Jimmy G, the Italian Gorilla here. And today I want to talk to you about the making of my little vignette video that you may have watched the other day, Frank Brown, the claims adjuster, and what went behind the idea of this character and what the weapons were that I chose for him. So everything kind of got started when I was going down a rabbit hole on eBay looking for some vintage or an antique jewelry items. I didn't really have anything specific in mind, but I was kind of already thinking about developing some kind of a character around guns that I hadn't really quite figured it out until I saw this. This is a tie clip with the abbreviation YCDB SOYA. Now, when I first saw it, I said, that's curious. What does that even mean? But I noticed that in a lot of these vintage men's jewelry lots of the antique variety, this came up over and over and over again. So I had to Google it. And what it stands for is you can't do business sitting on your ass. And it appeared to be quite a popular motif or theme, if you will, in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. My mind automatically started thinking of someone who was an insurance salesman. Because insurance salesmen, they have to hustle. They have to get out there in those days, go door to door, trying to sell life insurance and full term and all that other stuff and fire insurance, what have you. So you really did have to hustle, and you couldn't do business if you were sitting on your ass if you were in that industry. So it got me thinking about someone who was a hitman, but a throwback to that time. Not in that time, but they exist mentally in that time. And so I started to look for some other items. And if you had seen the one photo of the inside of the briefcase that he carries, you'll notice that there were a lot of little knickknacks. And even in the video, you could see on his costume that I had included this antique insurance company pocket protector, plastic pocket protector, which I just thought was great. Then I also found on eBay this nice antique 60s or 50s fedora from Dobbs Fifth Avenue in New York. Maybe it's even older than that, I don't know. But it had a really certain 1960s or 50s je ne sais quoi that I really liked. And I liked that it was brown. So that kind of led me to come up with the character name Frank Brown. Then I started thinking, well, in the briefcase, he would have his lunch. He'd carry this vintage 1960s thermos or 50s thermos, which was pretty cool. And so then I started thinking that this character, probably his father, was an insurance salesman in the 50s. And that, I don't know, maybe he killed his father, maybe his father was killed in some horrific way, but whatever, Frank Brown himself is a hitman. And he calls himself the claims adjuster, or he's been named the claims adjuster by people that he works for because of his assumed insurance salesman kind of quality about him and identity that he's adopted. Also in his briefcase is a copy of J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye because, well, that's just the quintessential psycho novel that somebody who's a murderer would probably have and read on their off time. Of course, you can't be a hitman without some kind of leather gloves. And then I also gave him these really cool, chic, vintage style sunglasses as well. And lastly, I thought it would be cool if maybe one of his other weapons that's not a firearm was not a knife either, but an ice pick. And I found this really cool Coca-Cola ice pick on eBay, and I had to clean up. It was very rusted. I had to clean it up. I sanded it and then cleaned it with some actually gun cleaner and lubricant, and it just has a really perfect hitman kind of feeling to it. So let's go ahead and get into the guns then. So the first firearm that you notice in the video right away, and you can see that I have it clear here, is this sawed-off double-barrel shotgun. This was my first foray into the NFA short barrel shotgun realm or world, and I wanted to do something really cool. So I found this Savage Stevens 311H double barrel shotgun. This thing was, I think, 28 inches. Found it at a pawn shop for maybe a couple $100. And so I already knew, like, I want to get this thing done. So I took it to a custom gunsmith in the area. I had them chop it down, 12-inch barrel, I had them put in a Picatinny rail. I put this finger stop on here to help from sliding forward and blowing my hands off. I also put an XS Big Dot on there if you can't see it. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. I'd like to have that visual. You can hold it quite easily and obtain that sight. And then the gunsmith cut it down in the stock and asked me, hey, can I make this into like the end of a femur bone? I just thought that was such a cool idea. So we went ahead and did that. Had it Cerakoted in this matte black and OD green. And then the only bit of real color other than, the greens, but it's a dull color, is that Marine Corps red for the safety, which just really pops out on you. This is an awesome weapon. I do not recommend shooting it with full loads, right? So I use short loads that work very, very well. And this thing gives me nothing but enjoyment. And anybody that comes to my house and wants to shoot guns shoots this, and they just think it's the coolest thing. But they're normally done after two to 4 rounds through it. The other weapon that Frank Brown carries, and this is just fantastic, is this Smith & Wesson Model 36 Chief Special 3-inch barrel. This was gifted to me by my mother recently. So this firearm, this particular firearm, was purchased by my uncle, her brother, when he got out of the Navy in 1969. He had this firearm for years, and then my mother moved into the country, and he wanted her to have a pistol that she could keep herself safe with in the house. So he gifted her that, and it has now passed on to me. It's just such a cool era gun, right? So for Frank Brown, this is just a natural gun as well. This tiny little 38, classic revolver, great shooter. It's just wonderful. So, but I just thought it really fit the aesthetic quite well along with that double barrel shotgun. Okay guys, so that's it. That's the genesis and origins of the Frank Brown story, the claims adjuster. If you meet up with Frank Brown, your life insurance form has been finalized and signed. You're done. So I just thought it was a cool idea. I think there's more of a story there to flesh out later on in a written format. I like to write as well, so maybe someday I'll get around to doing that. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about Frank Brown and maybe your ideas of his background or who he works for exactly, who his targets generally are. It's an interesting concept to let your mind wander and think about this ambiguous and mysterious kind of character. Also, guys, if you haven't done so already, feel free to please check out my website, www.gorillajim.com, where you can find links to my Instagram page, to companion blogs, to posts that I put on there, and to our merch store, where you can find things like this Gorilla Jim mug, t-shirts, sweatshirts, caps, all the usual stuff is there. And if you haven't done so, please, I would really appreciate it if you go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. It all helps the algorithm and helps me get out more content like this, which I hope everyone is enjoying. Thanks again, guys. Italian Gorilla, Jimmy G, out of here.